Hey guys, this is the long attended wrap up of the ProWein trade fair in Düsseldorf 4 weeks after Wine Paris. And I got some feedback on the Wine Paris episode that some people weren't, let's say, satisfied with my opinion because they thought it was my opinion. It wasn't. It was kind of a summary of several opinions. I received thoughts of people I was talking to at Wine Paris, and I did the exact same thing at ProWein this year. And to give you some numbers and a feeling, I talked to 12 exhibitors, 25 visitors, and 3 staff members to get kind of an overview or general mood of ProWein. And the rest is just my personal opinion, of course. And this is not representative at all, but let's say the outcomes serve the general impression and feeling when it comes to ProWein and a potential shift to Wine Paris. And secondly, for the numbers guys out there, guess how many steps I have walked in 3 days of ProWein? 22,000 steps a day. Yes, 22,000 steps a day because, I love walking, and when you have 30 minutes, 40 minutes sitting or standing at a stand at a booth talking to people, you want to walk a bit just, to move your body. But in the end, it's tiring 3 days, and you can feel that on Tuesday walking around talking to people. But, you are there for a specific reason, at least one. In the end, it's always good to attend fairs, in my personal opinion, but we will talk about all of this in a second. So have fun with the ProWein Recap 2025. Welcome to the Pinot and Pixel podcast episode number 245, the ProWein Recap of this year. And while preparing this episode on the train, I had this headline popping up in my head. ProWein is a bit like the Deutsche Bahn. You want to like it, but it makes it really hard for you. And while I was thinking about recording the podcast on the train, the Deutsche Bahn announced that there will be almost 2 hours delay for my train in Munich and that I cannot make it to my hometown. So a really good friend of mine, Christian, he gave me his guest room. Thanks again, Christian. You saved me last night. And right now, I'm home. It's Wednesday. I guess it's the second time ever that I'm recording on the exact same day I am publishing this episode. So I guess just around noon, you will be able to listen to this episode. And the episode is concerned about the wrap-up of this year's ProWein and if we can confirm or not what people were thinking about this shift from ProWein to Wine Paris, or at least the potential shift of visitors, of exhibitors as well. I would like to start with the first impressions and a general atmosphere because this was something that stood out quite in a positive way in Wine Paris, but generally saying the halls were well equipped. It felt calmer but way more organized, and there was not this super stressy feeling at all times. Sometimes last year, you either had a hall that was super calm at ProWein or super busy. And at this time, it felt more like kind of a balance. The people I was talking to seemed to be more interested and very, very focused. So you could feel that they were better prepared. Maybe they were listening to one of the episodes, how to prepare for a wine fair. I don't know. If you did so, thumbs up, guys, for you. And talking about communication, I had an interesting chat with a person that is involved in the organizational team of ProWein. And last episode, I said that in my personal feeling, Wine Paris is better organized and the communication up front is way better. And ProWein was able to change that feeling a little bit, but not totally, because they have this application, they have kind of a newsletter, and I was registered as a press representative, so they have kind of a specific press newsletter upfront and during ProWein and even afterwards to wrap everything up. The problem is, during the registration, you click your highlights, the topics you're interested in, but I had the feeling, just my personal opinion, that it just doesn't matter, because one thing is I wanted to click on alcohol free, but there was no checkbox to say I'm interested in alcohol free. So I did it for English wine, for I don't know what it was, German wine, for sparkling wine, champagne and stuff. But I didn't have the feeling that the segmentation process of the newsletter is working the way it should be. Maybe there could be something better in the future, but at least I have the feeling that they're better prepared. The, let's say, announcements for the masterclasses worked really well, and I was able to find several really good masterclasses, and we get to their quality in a second. So communication felt better compared to last year's. Just personal feeling of myself and the people I was talking to, there were fewer visitors. If I should guess, I would say there were roughly 42,000 visitors, something like this. I guess ProWein will announce this maybe today or tomorrow. Usually they are quite fast with that. So they are really good at numbers, let's put it like this. And last but not least, general impression, there was traffic in the halls, there was traffic outside, but you weren't running into other people, bumping into people. So maybe it was because there were fewer people, but at least it felt more relaxed to be at ProWein. And I actually enjoyed walking around, even though it was 60,000 plus steps. Well, my highlights, or generally the highlights and the positive aspects of ProWein. First of all, I want to mention strong masterclasses and really good speakers. I'm talking about Konstantin Baum. I'm talking about people that not only work in the wine industry, but bring this fresh attitude to the wine industry, because we need to have this higher, creative, young, and open-minded energy. For example, Juliana Schäfer was there. She gave an interview for this podcast 2 years ago when she was the wine queen of Germany. And she had a cooperation kind of where she gave a presentation on alcohol-free products with Wine Campus Neustadt, which was really interesting to see, let's say, the leading universities in Germany with young people that are very highly involved in wine, and they're bringing them together and showcasing the future, or at least one part of the future of the wine industry. And same accounts for the DVE, for the German Wine Institute, which that were showcasing white and red Burgundian grape varieties. So, I mean, it felt that they understood what the peer group, the target group, was looking for, and they offered masterclasses in that way. Sometimes you have the feeling that there are no speaker checks, and this is more for the international versions, because it is, I mean, I know that this is a very small balance between providing value and of course also advertising your company, your project, your whatever, but sometimes it felt really tough. I remember one masterclass that was basically about aging wines and the potential of varieties and styles when it comes to, how long can it be stored in the cellar? What is developing over time with varieties such as, I don't know, Riesling, for example. And it was a 1 hour masterclass, and the first 15 minutes was basically advertisements for the WSET. And I mean, it's very important to have institutes such as the WSET, but 100 people in a room, and they're just bored because people are talking about this, about the WSET, because we have this program. And then either it should be way more exciting and trying to bring people this, feeling of why is it important and what can you do with this and that, instead of just reading out notes about the general program, because we can do that on the website. So, but general feeling was well balanced, high quality, interesting speakers, and interesting topics. So as I said, I can't remember the number, but 6 to 10 masterclasses, and they all were very interesting when it comes to the content. And my favorite one actually was a presentation, which was also very smart when it comes to the attraction of people coming to that masterclass. It was about the usage of AI for reviews on whiskeys and wine. Yeah, not only in the fine wine space, but basically it's something like Vivino, but with the power of artificial intelligence behind, like data processing and pattern recognition and stuff like that, to give you better recommendations of what you should try or taste. And this app is called Preferably. We talked about that in the podcast in one weekly update. And they had a masterclass. And what they did is they talked about artificial intelligence. Of course, they presented the application and they invited one of the experts for high quality whiskey, and they had a rare whiskey tasting included in the masterclass. And the room was fully booked. I mean, there were, 30 seats or so, but we were talking about whiskeys between 100 and 150 bucks. And I used to love whiskey and enjoy the very special ones, usually peaty, dead bodies, cemetery, forest floor smell. So more in Germany you would say the toffee ones, the peaty ones. So they managed to bring so many people over there with just a small strategy, and it was suiting. It was working with each other. It was a symbiosis. It wasn't just like, well, we give you some wine and then we talk about another topic and it's just advertising. No, it was smart actually, and it was very interesting to hear their thoughts on and insights on what is currently going on when it comes to consulting in wine shops and restaurants, giving recommendations for wines, and how artificial intelligence and an application like theirs can add up to the portfolio of sommeliers, of consultants in wine shops, for example. It was really interesting and some very thoughtful insights. And while talking about AI, I had the feeling that ProWein managed to be very on point when it comes to the current topics that are really fueling the wine industry. And some things are trends and some things are more like, you have to talk about it. Let's start with the interesting things: artificial intelligence, alcohol-free products, spirits, premiumization, and of course also packaging, like this regenerative, sustainable, and also environmentally friendly approach, and of course the impact on climate change. These were the topics, and you could feel them during the masterclasses while talking to people at the stands, and it just impressed me in a positive way how these topics were represented at ProWein. And just talking about the Zero Corner, way better organized than last year. It's just a feeling. Maybe it was actually the exact same thing compared to last year, but it just felt way better. You were able to taste over 200 wines without or products without alcohol. Maybe more people felt interested. I had some amazing chats in that area with people either from the wine space or from totally different areas. And what was also interesting, there were many wineries or companies that usually offer the full strength versions of their products that had alcohol-free products with them, and they were proud of it, presenting it. It wasn't just like, there is an alcohol-free thing under my chair if you want to try it. It was more like, this is our gin and this is the alcohol-free version. Start with the alcohol-free one and then switch to the full-strength version. We need both of these products because we want to show inclusion. It should be more inclusive when we talk about alcohol-free and alcohol. It's not the bad stepbrother or something like this. They should just work hand in hand. And this was my personal feeling that this worked really well. Talking about the other things, spirits and premiumization, the spirits hall was insane, guys. There were two halls, hall 5 and hall 7, but the smaller one, hall 7, you immediately had the feeling of walking into a pub. The ceiling felt a bit lower. It was darker. You had this feeling of like being in a pub, in a bistro, in a club. You had this smell. You know what I mean? What is it? Volatile alcohol? I don't know, but the lighting was a bit tough when you arrived there in the morning around 11 a.m. or so. But after 4 p.m., it was really, authentic. Let's put it like this. Unfortunately, many people discovered this as their favorite hall, and it was really disgusting to see how many people were drunk 4 p.m. in the afternoon because they discovered that there's actually a spirits hall where you can have several whiskeys and tequilas and stuff like that. Yeah, but I mean, this is part of the fair as well, and it's both a blessing and a curse. It is what it is. Let's wrap up the criticism and challenges of the people I was talking to and also my personal feelings. The application, guys. ProWein has had this application for I don't know how many years, but it got better compared to last year because at least it wasn't breaking down all the time. But you have your favorites where you can just add a product, an exhibitor, or an event to your list. My Organizer. It's called My Organizer. But the problem is there is no calendar function. So if you wanted to visit 25 or 30 exhibitors, it's the same list like the events, and you have to click one after each other to find out when and where you have to be for the next masterclass. And there is no calendar function, so I have to put it in my own calendar manually. Come on, guys. You can do better. So, I don't know, go on Fiverr and hire yourself a developer. It shouldn't be that hard. Or just get rid of the app and find a new one. I don't know, but the announcements for the masterclasses were really good, but it was so tough to structure your day with this application because you had to do everything manually again. Unnecessarily complicated. Of course, the fewer visitors, especially compared to Paris, and this is a personal feeling that it was more quiet, but talking to exhibitors, some were really disappointed. And especially they mentioned Sunday morning and Monday afternoon. And usually it felt that especially Sunday, Monday were the busiest days, and they usually expected Tuesday to be very calm, but Sunday morning and Monday afternoon were very, very quiet with only few visitors and less people attracted by and interested in their wines, in their products. And I'm talking about Central European markets like Italy, France, England, Spain. So I guess there are many reasons for that, but at least this is the feeling where many exhibitors said, well, it's getting tougher and tougher. And of course, the biggest problem of ProWein still is the high costs for stands, accommodation, and transport. I was talking to a friend. They have a company, and it's just two people, and they came to ProWein 4 days, Central Europe, so I don't know, 3 hours, 2 hours flights, I don't know. And he said this attendance costs us 15,000 euro. Accommodation for two people for 4 days, 2 flights for the people, samples, and of course, stand prices at ProWein. 15,000 euro. Can you imagine if you're a small startup and you want to showcase your wine? Maybe a startup is not the right target group for ProWein, I don't know, but it's a lot of money, guys. And just comparing it to Paris, it's half the price. And I'm not only talking about accommodation, but just comparing a standard hotel in the city center of Düsseldorf with 400 euro per night per person. Come on, guys. You can have 4 days in Paris for that. And I mean, Düsseldorf has a lot of experience with big fairs, and they should know better and do better. Maybe it's intended, I have no clue, but at least talking about public transport and accommodation and hotel system and everything, Paris doesn't care. Paris is big enough to compensate almost every single fair you can imagine. Maybe this is a bit more difficult, and if you want to have a recommendation for next year, don't stay in Düsseldorf. There are so many cities outside of Düsseldorf, Neuss, Wuppertal, Solingen, and even Cologne, where it's between 20 and 30 minutes by train, and you get your accommodation way cheaper. I've been staying in Wuppertal for 3 years now, and usually it's, I don't know, 60 to 70 euro per night, because, guys, we are on the road all day, so you just need something to sleep that is clean, that is proper, maybe with a good breakfast, and you can get this way cheaper outside of Düsseldorf. And look at fairs such as OMR. They are offering stuff like that because they know that Hamburg is struggling with accommodating all the people and offering fair price value. So they said, there is a train to Bremen and we offer partnerships with restaurants and hotels over there. So get yourself a room in Bremen. It's a 1 hour drive, 1 hour ride, whatever you want. And it is cheaper, guys. So if this is a problem, it can be solved. It can be solved. And the first step was made with this online portal for accommodation, but I had the feeling that they just, started an online portal and took the prices from the hotels as they were, whatever. And then another thing that several people mentioned, there are way more halls compared to Paris and longer distances between the halls. So you have to walk long ways to get from one hall to another. And especially, I mean, I was interested in the new world this time in sparkling wine and in the alcohol free. So I was just penning around between hall 1, hall 12, and hall 15. And this is maybe why I ended up with 22,000 steps a day. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, I can sleep at home. This is fine. So there are way longer distances between the halls to cover, and there is a shuttle. And it's well organized, but only few people know about it. So maybe we should just, communicate more that there are several shuttle buses, and very kind people, by the way. The drivers are super relaxed, very empathetic, and especially 4 p.m. and later, where people usually are, a bit dizzy in their head, a bit boozy. Still, totally respect these guys. Thank you for your service, is what they usually say in the US, I think. But when we're talking about the bus drivers, thank you guys for that. My personal experiences were mixed, I would say. At least I was able to get a more positive feeling of ProWein. I guess I would assume I had very successful meetings. I met new people, interesting connections. I was positively surprised by this younger spirit I was able to feel and experience in the German hall number 1, and not only with alcohol free, but also with young people like Juliane Schäfer or Lisa Keppers are doing for the German wine, and the presentations about like making wine more accessible, but in a good way. So not like alcohol is not bad for you, but like think about the terroir and the styles and the high quality and everything like that. I really like that. So I have a good picture of ProWein this year, of Germany, German wine. I mean, you can always find some things to mention, and you still have this higher sophisticated vibe every now and then. And I'm not only talking about Germany, it's also the same with the traditional wine countries, but at least I felt it got better compared to last year. And still, I can feel that there will be a shift of more exhibitors, either from ProWein to Wine Paris, or they just, there's many of the exhibitors I talked to, they were already at both fairs as exhibitors, and they are just a bit too afraid to skip ProWein currently, because they think that still at least the big partners, the bigger brands are still attending ProWein, and they just hope that they will be successful, that they can make a trade, that they can sell products, or they can just find new clients or customers, or they already are clients or customers and they just want to, network and chat with each other, because there's only this time of the year where they can do that. My personal highlight of the fair was an appointment I had at the Consortio of Prosecco DOC. And I will give some more insights on this interview, some amazing people over there, with episode 246 or 47. We'll see. It was really interesting to have a chat on their thoughts on alcohol-free products, on the tariffs that might come. But they had the best freaking coffee of the fair. They brought their own coffee machine. And we know that Italians are famous for good coffee, but this coffee was freaking amazing. Thank you guys. If you're listening to this was the best coffee I had during the ProWein. Thank you very much for sharing that. Well, it's the small things in life, and this coffee was just amazing. So to wrap this up, the fair was generally well organized. The app was a disaster, but we can do better. There was a quieter atmosphere. It seemed to have fewer visitors compared to previous years and compared to Wine Paris. The traditional regions appeared surprised by the reduced traffic, but this is what I forgot to mention, there was a big interest of Eastern Europe and Russia. So many friends and colleagues I was talking to, especially from France, from Italy, from Spain, and from England, they said there's a huge interest coming from Eastern Europe in our products. And so many people are already asking if they can source our wines to the countries. This might help, But I don't know if this can compensate the things that they are losing on the other side. We'll see. Focused content, despite the quiet atmosphere, masterclasses and talks were insightful with less commercial fluff. Would be good, but there's always something. And the alcohol-free momentum, so a notable presence of alcohol-free options. The zero corner tastings were well organized, drew good interest, amazing chats with people that showed interest in the whole category. The German wine representation showed a strong performance, in my opinion, in promoting German wines. University and experts were present, and this is important, guys. We cannot only showcase the high-quality, very expensive wineries. There should be small ones, and there were Weincampus Neustadt, Hochschule Geisenheim, and even the smaller ones, the companies that are currently working on either alcohol-free research papers and stuff like that. This is important, and it was just good to see that they're working hand in hand. And on the other side, of course, the high costs for accommodations and for the stands, logistics and navigation, sometimes good, sometimes bad. At least there's shuttle buses. You have to cover longer distances, but this is nothing new because ProWein has been like this since, I don't know. The last question is, what is the future of ProWein? What needs to change to remain attractive in the long term? Is Paris the future, the place to be, or is there room for both fairs? Let me know what you think about that in the comments, or send me an email at podcast@pinotpixel.com. I hope you enjoyed the episode. Have a wonderful week. See you on Saturday with the weekly update. Ciao, ciao.